The water gap separating Iran and Oman is 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point. This tiny geographic pinch is the Strait of Hormuz, and it acts as the aorta of the global economy. This map illustrates the volume squeezing through that gap. 20 million barrels of oil daily, 20% of global supply, plus a third of the world's liquefied natural gas. But recently, commercial traffic plunged by 90%, leaving a bustling trade route resembling an abandoned war zone. The disruption comes down to cheap asymmetric warfare. Swarms of drones and low-tech naval mines placed directly in the shipping lanes have rendered the passage impassable for massive, slow-moving commercial tankers. This visualization of global oil flows reveals the primary victims of this blockage are Asian economies. China relies on this waterway for 40% of its crude imports. Japan, South Korea, and India also heavily depend on these deliveries to keep their factories running. Without this daily supply, power grids across the Eastern Hemisphere face severe shortages within weeks. A targeted disruption in a small Middle Eastern strait threatens to suffocate half the global economy. When a vital shipping lane becomes a combat zone, commercial shipping halts as war risk insurance premiums skyrocket to ruinous levels. Almost overnight, the financial liability of losing a vessel makes the voyage too expensive to justify. Energy suppliers scramble for alternative routes. They pump oil into overland pipelines that terminate at locations outside the danger zone, like the port of Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates or the Red Sea terminals in Saudi Arabia. But this chart compares the actual capacities, and the math fails. The maximum physical capacity of all regional bypass pipelines combined barely makes a dent in the 20 million barrels required every day. With pipelines maxed out, ships are forced to turn around. They divert thousands of miles across the open ocean, burning massive amounts of extra fuel and creating catastrophic delays up and down the supply chain. The global market is physically trapped in a bottleneck. There is no viable logistical exit that can absorb the sheer volume of energy that Hormuz handles. The physical logjam on the water immediately bleeds into financial panic. Long before a single physical drop of oil is actually lost, the global markets react. Energy traders calculate something called a geopolitical risk premium. This is the extra cost added to a barrel of crude strictly because the market is terrified that future supply might run out. As this line chart illustrates, speculative fear is highly effective at driving crude prices past $100 a barrel. Notice how these extreme price spikes perfectly match the timeline of the attacks in the strait. That local panic is instantly exported. A trucker in Brazil, or a manufacturer in Europe, suddenly pays a heavy premium at the pump, even though their nations have no direct involvement in the Middle Eastern conflict. The pain moves steadily downstream. Expensive diesel makes transporting basic goods cost more. Surging natural gas prices increase the cost of agricultural fertilizers, which inevitably drives up the price of food at the grocery store. The Strait of Hormuz weaponizes market psychology. A few low-tech mines in a 33-kilometer channel mutate into an inescapable global inflation crisis. The economic chaos radiating from the strait functions as a calculated strategic tool for global superpowers. Consider the United States. Thanks to vast domestic shale production, the U.S. is largely energy independent. Yet the Pentagon maintains a massive, highly expensive naval presence patrolling the Persian Gulf. The primary motivation is leverage. Securing the Hormuz choke point means keeping a firm grip on the vital energy lifeline of America's primary geopolitical rival, China. Commanding this specific waterway grants the U.S. the leverage to influence global prices and directly pressure the energy-dependent industrial base required for China's continued rise. Beijing recognizes this exposure. In response, China is pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into its Belt and Road Initiative, constructing entirely new overland routes and maritime infrastructure designed to escape American naval influence. They are financing massive deep-water projects like Gwadar Port in Pakistan and investing in new terminals in Myanmar, searching for a physical bypass around the strait. Despite these massive infrastructure investments, China's energy appetite is too immense, leaving them exposed to the 33-kilometer bottleneck. The Strait of Hormuz functions as a geopolitical weapon, proving that geography still dictates the cost of daily life and the ultimate reach of global influence.